Hello everyone! Thank you for taking the time to come to my channel and watch this video on my first attempt at pastry. It's been a challenge for me. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and it took me long enough to learn how to just make the dough. That's going to be a separate video that I'll have to explain how I did it. But what you're seeing in front of you is something that I actually did produce. It is now a folded dough, and it's been folded over twice already, with each fold containing a full stick of frozen butter shredded on top of it. And that was then pressed in by floured hands and then rolled out and then folded in a tri-fold shape of a rectangle, folded in on itself. And then each time I folded it, I put it on a tray, covered it in plastic, and put it back in the refrigerator for about an hour to an hour and a half to chill and set up. Each time I brought it out, I sprinkled it again with just a little bit of flour, but mostly this mixture of sugar and salt, which was about 9/10 sugar and 1/10 salt, which I found out was really the wrong combination. I was going for something that was going to be salty, let's say not salty, they wanted being salty. I was trying to get something that was both savory and sweet, but it was far too much salt for my liking. But they've all been eaten just the same. Here we are rolling it out a little bit more. I'm trying to just blend in some of that sugar, pressing it in, and then soon I'm going to fold it over again. And I actually don't show it here, but I popped it back in the fridge one more time, and I repeated this step again. And this is how I wound up with the folds that you're going to see, and the layers, which is what's needed for pastry. Here I am going for the final rollout, and I've got it pressed out the way I think is good, about a 1/4 inch to an 1/8 of an inch thickness. I was not consistent though. The edges are really the thin part. They're right around the 1/8 of an inch thickness, and the middle still has a lot of thicker spots, which I later found out I wasn't too happy with because it made for inconsistencies in the way the doughs produce their flakes. Right now I'm separating it out lengthwise into 3 equal spaced rows, and then I'm going to cut them also straight in the middle, and then I'm going to come up and make 2 more cuts so that right across, and I'm going to wind up with 12 mostly equally spaced pieces of pastry dough. And I was really impressed. Very first time doing anything like this. I was totally nervous about the thickness, but I was excited to hold that up and say, wow, there are actual layers there. I couldn't believe it. So the next thing is going to the pan we're going to use. I had melted 2 teaspoons of butter, and then I just let it cool just a bit, but then I poured it into, well, actually distributed with a paper towel. I should have used something else, but I rubbed it around the intersection of the cupcake pan and sprinkled in the pre-made bowl of sugar and salt, the one that I had mentioned before, which was about 9/10 sugar and 1/10 salt. Again, way too much salt. I will not do this again. Try to make it savory. On the left, you're going to see one of the thinner edged flaky pastries, excuse me. On the right, you're going to see which is one that came from the center of that pastry dough that I cut out. See how thick it is there. So you make the 4 corners of the pastry dough touch. You fold them up until they touch each other. That's what I was trying to do. And it's okay to have them have a little bit of space in the middle to open up. It helps them actually cook a little bit. I did make a terrible mistake actually on my second batch of these. I put way too much butter. I did 3 sticks of butter, and then when I looked in, I had a huge problem on my hands. The butter was basically boiling over in them. The whole stove, the oven was smoking. It was a mess. So I will not keep putting butter in. I will stop at the 2 sticks of butter. That's plenty, and they were totally moist with 2 sticks anyways. So, and now I just finished setting up the rest of the cupcake pan, and I filled these up. And I also used a different shaped cupcake pan, which was it was more shallow. I didn't really like it. I realized later I don't like the shallow cupcake pan. The one with the 6 is a better pan. That's the better one right there. These are some leftover pieces from the edges that I simply just rolled into crullers, and I put them in for 27 minutes at 375. And this is their final product. They were crusty and firm on the outside and crunchy, and the inside was soft. There's some burned edges on the bottom of these ones, but they were all eaten, and I learned a lot from this. And I hope maybe you guys picked up some ideas too.